Hi, I'm Sarah here at Craft Habit, and today I'm going to show you an easy way to make a lined tote bag like this one. This project is inspired by a new fabric we got in. This is the Our Planet panel print from Dashwood Studio. It's got a ton of really gorgeous illustrated panels on it, and this one was a perfect size for a tote bag, so here we go. For my sample in this video, I'm going to use another fabric we got in, also from Dashwood Studio. We call this one Animal Bingo. It's super cute. It's got tons of different little animals on it. Here's the other piece. And the really nice thing about this fabric is each of these squares is 4 inches wide, so it's easy to measure. So, to make this bag, I have cut 2 panels that are 16 inches wide by 16.5 inches tall. 2 panels for the outside, and then for the inside lining, I've cut 2 panels that are again 16 inches wide by 16.5 inches tall. Right. Step 1 is attaching the straps. For this bag, I cut 2 pieces of cotton webbing. This is 1 inch wide cotton webbing, and I cut 2 pieces that are 22 inches long. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure 4 inches in from the outer edge, and like I said before, these are 4 inches wide, so I know exactly where that is. I'm going to lay my strap down. From my perspective, it's a rainbow. From yours, maybe it's a smile. But I'm going to lay it down so that one end of the strap is right here, just sort of straddling that 4-inch mark. I'm going to put in a pin. Grab the strap and just pull it up. You just want to make sure that you don't get a full twist in here, and it'll be pretty obvious if you do. So we're going to grab that strap, pull it up. Here's my other 4-inch mark. I'm going to put a pin in there. And what I'm going to do is take this to my sewing machine. I'm just going to stitch right across the width of both of these ends of the strap. I'm going to do a sort of back and forth stitch just to hold it on there. They'll get extra stitching when we put the whole bag together, but I like to go ahead and base them on. I have stitched on both of my straps here. I just did the same process on both pieces, and right now it looks like the straps are upside down, but when we sew this all together, they will stand up like they should. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and attach these 2 pieces to each other, and that's very simple. You're just going to line up the bottom edges and the top edges. I would say pin the whole thing. If you're a more confident sewer, pretty confident with your machine skills, you don't have to pin. I think that you will know whether or not you need to pin based on your skills. Pinning this is also quick and easy. I would probably just put 3 or 4 pins in each long side. So you're going to pin and sew there, there, and there. Here the bag is stitched completely around, except obviously not across the top. If you close the top up, you will not have a bag anymore. You'll just have a double layer of fabric. So stitch all the way around, and then I've clipped the corners here, so you can see that was a square, and I clipped off a triangle of the corner. Full disclosure, I had a little bit of technical difficulties doing this video, as in I thought I pressed record, but I didn't. So about halfway through I had to stop, take it apart, so I could put it back together actually on film for you. So that is why the corners are already clipped and the fabric's a little bit janky. But just pretend that they weren't clipped and now they are. What this does is it just gives you a little bit less bulk in your seams when you turn. So we will sew the lining the same way around 3 sides, except we're going to leave a little bit of a open space in the middle here so that we have something to reach in to turn the whole thing right side out. I'll mark it with my chalk to show you. I like to leave a space that's at least as wide as the fingers of my hand, because I know I'm probably going to need to reach my hand inside to pull that out. So that's what I like to do. And then we'll pin and stitch all the way around here, just like we did on that one. And a little trick that you can do, I don't even know if it counts as a trick, but something that will make things a little bit quicker. When I will usually start here when I sew, so I'll put it in my machine like this, sew through, turn the corner, and when I get to here, stop, do a little back stitch, lift my needle up and just pull my fabric forward, put my needle down on this second one, and do a little forward, little back stitch, and keep going. So what you'll have is you'll basically have 2 long strands of thread there, but you can just cut them off later And you don't have to take your fabric out, cut threads, put it back in. That is just one teeny tiny time-saving tip for you. Here is my fully sewn, well, almost fully sewn lining. There's the opening, so I'll be able to reach my hand in there just barely and pull things out. Before I put these together, I'm definitely going to press the seams open. The reason for that is basically it just makes it look nicer, but also once we sew these together, you will not be able to get in there to press those inner seams. I'm going to do that and come back and show you the next step for attaching the lining to the outer bag. To put our bag front and bag lining together, we're going to turn the outer portion of the bag right side out. Again, just poke those corners with your chopstick. And you want to fold down the straps so that they're hanging down either side. That's how we're going to make sure they end up on the outside when we're done sewing. Now we're going to take your lining, which is still inside out. You should see these seams here. And we are going to slide that up and over, or alternatively, you're going to slide the outside in. So once you've got the outside of your bag and the lining together, you want to line up the side seams. This is part of why we press them open. It makes it much easier. I'm going to bring this up here to show you. We want those seams to be right on top of each other. And when they're pressed open, it's easier to see. So I will go ahead when I do this, just line up one side seam at a time. I like to put a pin in each set of flaps. That keeps the seam open, so when you sew over it, it won't fold up and get bulky. Keeps things in place. Then I'm going to flip around to the other side, find my two side seams there, and line those up right on top of each other. Give you a little close-up of that again. Give it a pin. And then you don't need too many more pins around the top here. I would definitely put some where the straps attach, because that's heavy and that's going to want to kind of move around. So I do that for all 4 points where the lining attaches. And then if you want to put in 1 or 2 more pins, might be good to put one sort of right here in this middle space. Alright, so I've pinned it all around, and now my machine has a little toolbox here that I can remove. You don't have to do that, but I like to do that. That gives me a little more maneuverability. This is called free arm sewing. What I'm going to do, because this is a round thing now, it's kind of a circle, and I want to sew all the way around it, the easiest way for me to do that is to put it over this part of my machine. That way, as I'm sewing, this can move in a circle like I want it to. If you don't have a free arm or your machine is bulkier, you can still sew it like this. You put it here and you just move it through. You just got to be a little vigilant. I mean, we always got to be a little vigilant when we're sewing. Now the outside and the inside are sewn to each other, but the whole thing is inside out. So we have got to flip it, and that's where our helpful hole in the lining comes in, and we're just going to pull everything through that hole. You don't have to pull it all through at once. I tend to do the 2 corners of the lining first, and then just kind of pull this through. Go gently. It's okay if you bust the stitches in that opening a little bit, because you're going to sew over them anyway, but you know, don't need to do it too much. Fabric squishes, so it should fit through just fine. All right, good. Our straps are on the outside where we wanted them. I'm going to grab my chopstick one more time. Get those corners, and then here we can get these corners of the lining pushed out too. So now, the nice thing about this method of sewing the bottom is that even though you've left a hole, the seam allowance from the rest of the seam wants to be there. So those bits are folded in already. So all you need to do is go with that fold, go with the flow of the fold. put a couple pins in, and then I just like to machine stitch right across that to close it up. You could hand stitch if you want it to be hidden, but again, I don't worry about that. Confession time. I sew for myself. I sew samples for the store. I sew gifts sometimes, but I've never had the desire to sew things to sell. And because of that, a lot of my finishings are absolutely good enough. If you are looking for a video to teach you professional finishings, they are out there, but not on this channel. Our classes are a different story. I don't teach all the sewing classes, so you will find some instructors here who are very good at the finishing, very good at the meticulous. I am good at the quick and dirty. I want to get this made without too many extra steps and too much complication. All right, so now there's no more hole in the bottom of your bag. I'm going to tuck this inside where it belongs because it's the inside lining. Okay, the very last sewing step is to stitch down around this top edge where you just stitched them together on the inside, but to stitch down around the top edge too. That's going to keep your lining from like sagging in, and it's going to keep your hello string. It's going to keep your straps in place. And definitely press with an iron before you do this, otherwise your seam is going to be all wiggly woo. Here we are, nicely pressed, ready to stitch. Again, I'm going to leave this free arm open, and I'm just going to be real careful of my straps. I don't want to stitch them to each other. And I'm going to stitch pretty close to this top edge here. All right, and that is it. Here is our lined tote bag. This one is made with a fabric that we call Animal Bingo. I will link that in the description, and I will also put in the link to the inner fabric, which is called pewter, this webbing for straps. I love the webbing for straps. You can also make straps out of fabric, but this is quick and easy. So again, this is the inspiration. This is the Our Planet panel print tote bag. I think of this as Mother Earth. And again, I will link this fabric and lining, oh, it's the same lining, and strap as well. And I hope you enjoy. If you love this illustration, check out the other videos we have about the panel print. There's a lot of fun projects in there. All right, happy sewing. Bye.